in brightest day, in blackest night. All other podcasts tremble in fright. Losers cower before the power. Oranges lust and blues you can trust. Indigos feel and white ones heal. Yellow scare and green ones dare. That sapphire love and black hands glove will rock your foundation without hesitation. Chad and Mars face evil's might. Respect their power, for they'll make you see the light.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark Marble.
And I'm Chad Bokelman.
And this is the LanternCast.
Episode 649.
Creeping closer to 650.
What a eventful one it will be. Yes, no, maybe, we don't know.
Maybe. We really have not discussed whether 650 was going to have any special content, but again, does Core come out the week? Core doesn't come out the week we're recording this, or does it? Or is it next week?
No, it comes
out
next
week. So we do. There is a possibility, unless we're going to skip a week, that we might be able to figure something out. But nonetheless, or we just take a week off as a palate cleanser after this unfortunate main topic for today. Which is Green Lantern number 35, or Legacy number 602, or any other kind of propaganda crap they want to give us. This is otherwise known as Green Lantern 35, starring Odyssey, co-starring Kyle, with special appearance by Hal Jordan. That pretty much sums this issue up nicely. So I still have only read this issue once. So this is going to be my second time because I couldn't bring myself to go through it a second time till tonight. But I don't think that would be a big detriment considering what I remember about this last week. So we begin in a Beverly Hills surgeon's office, who we will find out this is Dr. Skin, who kind of looks like a cross between Maniac Cop and Dr. Giggles, I think. So we have this alien Flinks, but this guy is like how there's plastic surgeons to the stars. This guy is a plastic surgeon to aliens to kind of how it makes them, to somehow make them look human on the outside so they can't get detected by Earthlings. So we kind of begin with him being operated on and like, what do you want to look like? Now we flash back to Hollywood where Odyssey is getting prepared for her movie role. Kyle's just standing around doing nothing. Common thread. The star on Odyssey's face is not really a tattoo, but it's something of relevance, which apparently other people in the universe know what it means. And Odyssey may know what it means, but she also isn't fond of it, which is why she's as the story plays out, she doesn't really have an issue with trying to cover it up or remove it, which becomes a subplot because they're trying to cover it up with makeup and it doesn't really work. So the kind of sleazy Hollywood producer we met last episode wants to send Odyssey to Dr. Skin to try to get this thing taken care of. So that's kind of like that's the common thread in this story. We cut back to ever so briefly. We cut back to Hal and Jaina, who were rescued by that last son of Earth, Toby Y2K guy. Who the only real interest with him is the fact that he obviously comes from an Earth in the multiverse where Y2K was actually a thing and helped destroy society. So that is moderately amusing. But this guy, he essentially is only there because he sold out Hal Jordan and or Jaina to bounty hunters who look really cool, by the way. But he's supposed to be like a rat with a heart of gold because he didn't think they were gonna kill Hal and or Jaina. He just thought they were turning them over to whoever wanted them. So he eventually helps Jaina out of this. Hal Jordan is taken by these bounty hunters who look like knights. So that's the reason why they happen to look cool. When she gets freed by Y2K, she takes the form of this great ape, which is what she was trying to do before she got kind of put in pseudo-carbonite. And one of the great things in this issue is what happened to Hal when he got captured by these night bounty hunters or whatever? Well, we don't know, because it says to find out you have to read Aquaman 18, which we can kind of figure by the time we see Hal again. We won't have any idea what actually happened in that issue, but if we're lucky, we'll get a little editor's box saying, see, Aquaman 18.
which
Yeah,
Jeremy is also writing.
yeah, there's a friggin' shocker. All right, there's a shocker. There's kind of a problem there from my perspective. So we cut to Kyle. Kyle, I think Kyle gets sent off on this. He picks up in this I guess distress signal, if I remember correctly. He goes to the terrific records building where this guy's holding this woman and having like a knife to her throat, and he keeps talking to this guy, trying to talk him down. And guy kind of freaks out because he's a Green Lantern, and he runs away. Kyle's trying to track this guy down. This guy's like clinging to the ceiling. They end up clashing. We find out that this guy, as this fight continues, well, this was that, what did I say? Was it Flanks? Right, whatever the hell his name was from the beginning of the
Flanks or whatever, the guy who got
Flanks, whichever the guy was, Dr. Skin was operating on in the beginning of the issue is inside this human form, and he's coming out, and Kyle's like, well, I kind of don't know what to do with this. He does take him out by dropping a convenient Green Lantern construct 100-ton weight on him, and he threatens, he first makes it sound like the Cantanian there that's what I guess that's what he is, and he's all willing to go back to the science cell, but Kyle knows.
So he's actually not, because Kyle goes, you're not one of the guys I'm looking for.
That's right. So we actually find out you're right. He actually isn't, but in the beginning we think that he might be.
Yeah.
But he's willing to go to the science cells. It's like, you kind of caught me. But Kyle somehow knows, he's a Cantanian, excuse me, and they're because would be considered a deserter going back, to their high court, a fate either worse than death or exactly death. So because of how they feel about deserters, so now this guy's willing to sing like a canary. And it's like, so Kyle asked him, where you get the skin suit? Now we cut to the Dr. Skin's office where Odyssey is about to go in to have her surgery, and she's talking about, this might be my chance, and I'm sure it's whatever the hell she's 100% reflecting upon. She gets on the table, and the nurse is kind of like saying, "Oh, don't worry." It's like, this guy this doctor can do anything you want, make you look like anything you want. Money's no object. Kyle comes in looking for her. He deals with that same nurse. Her eyes freak out, so you kind of know that she's an alien too. Dr. Skin comes in to operate on her, and he's like, like I said, he's really freaky. He's like Dr. Giggles and Maniac Cop all combined. She says there's no way that she wants to do this. She changes her mind. At the same time, the alien skin suit nurse attacks Kyle. He hears a scream from Odyssey. He runs in the other room, and Dr. Skin knows what this star is on Odyssey's face, which is another reason why I think he's more than willing to cut it off or do what he needs to do. Kyle rescues Odyssey, and then all of a sudden, Dr. Skin says, "We're not done yet. The doctor will see you now." And we find out that Dr. Skin is essentially an alien himself underneath this human garb. Kind of looks like something out of John Carpenter's The Thing. And that is pretty much the end of the issue. We say, next time, Green Lantern and Odyssey versus Dr. Skin. Love is in the air, and the fast food wars begin. Shoot me. Just friggin' shoot me. Now, where is the actual... I'm trying to go back to the... here we go. And I mentioned last week, the actual title of this issue is Filler Episode, which is, again, either the most dead-on, self-aware name you could give this issue, or being completely oblivious to how other people will view it. But writer Jeremy Adams, artist I.G. Guaro and Montos, colorist Romulo Fajardo Jr., Dave Sharp letterer, Zamanico did the cover artists. I'm not going to do the variant covers. Assistant editors Jillian Grant, Kathleen Wisniewski, and as usual, Paul Kaminsky, group editor.
So one quick correction: Toby is not from another Earth or somewhere else in the multiverse. He is telling the story of Y2K, and could he be from another Earth or somewhere else in the multiverse? Sure. But according to the story he tells as he tells it, it makes it sound as if he has a Kryptonian origin except from Earth, but his parents sent him away before Y2K happened.
You may be
So
right.
they were terrified of what would happen when Y2K came about, and because of their belief in said panic, yet also being, smart scientists, I guess, to send him off in a rocket, they sent him off of Earth before Y2K. My planet, from the tapes my father left me, Earth was a beautiful place that became too reliant on technology.
Yes. So he was, yes.
Could he be from another
You are correct.
Earth?
So yes,
Sure. But the
like
way
I
it's
said,
told, it's as
yes.
if he's from our Earth but he got launched off prior to Y2K.
Because his parents bought into the hype.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So I stand corrected, but then I apologize. That's a casualty of me reading this one full time.
No, I figured. He also says he landed on Tacron Galtos. Are you familiar with that?
Not off the top of my head.
That is the prison planet where like were they called like the Fatal Five or whatever and stuff for like the Legion villains.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the prison planet in the Legion's future. That's kind of why you kind of open up the idea of it could be from another Earth in the multiverse, because Tacron Galtos isn't really a thing until much later as a prison planet. But he does say a ferocious race of warriors, so he could be referring to Tacron Galtos in our timeline prior to the Legion's future, in which it becomes a prison planet. So yeah, it could be. There's wiggle room there. Not like we care much about Toby.
I know, and again, it's kind of typical in a way when you think about it. It could be this, it could be that. If we're ever going to find out, who knows? And it probably really isn't particularly important to 90% of the people who are reading the book, even if we do find out.
At least we're learning shit about Toby within an issue of meeting him, as opposed to
that's true.
We got introduced to Odyssey, and I double checked this in issue 19. And it took you this long to start telling us anything about her, so much so that you said, I'm going to make it the focus of my book and shove the Green Lantern stuff to the side. What happened here?
Yeah, I mean,
this is overcompensation. Like, I think he realizes he didn't give us any reason to invest in Odyssey, and now he's doubling down to be like, oh, she's a good character. Let me show you why. But it's been 15 issues, dude. It's too late.
Yeah, and I think we alluded to this last week, that even if we get an answer of why she's important and what the star means, how many people are really going to care anyway? And if it doesn't tie into something significant to Green Lantern mythology, or something that's going to be critically important for Green Lanterns, even if it's important to Jeremy, no one's going to give a shit. It's really puzzling, more mind-boggling actually, how this book has been going. I mean, how this book has gone off the rails. And again, we talked, for those who listened last week, I mean, we knew when we read the solicit for this book that it sounded like horse crap to begin with. Mm. No doubt about that. This book sounded like, if there was going to be one book that was going to cause the sales to start hemorrhaging almost beyond the point of being salvaged, that you can't stop this bleeding, it was going to be this issue, because the issue sounded like, even from a solicit perspective, it sounded like hot garbage. And it essentially is. The art isn't particularly good. Some of the aliens look fine. Kyle looks like crap. I think Hal looks like crap. Again, I mean, those night bounty hunter things, they look cool. Like the Great Ape construct looks cool. But, I mean, where is it? And you talked about, I should have gone back to look at this. We have to go back to find what issue was the end of the Starbreaker supremacy. Or the second to last issue, when we found out Krona was, the actual reveal that Krona was controlling Kelly, right? Because he controlled Kelly, or was he controlling Simon? No, at the time, Kelly, I think.
He controlled Kelly, and then then Simon got the gauntlet. He controlled Simon to activate the thing.
That's okay. So that's where I was thinking. So we have to go. So we would have to go back and find out what issue that was to figure out how many issues now this has been dragging on. With the Krona story, which is not, I mean, we barely have gotten anything with Krona himself, especially if you left out the minor cameo we got in Green Lantern 600 in 33, that we have gotten nothing And I don't understand what the point of all this is. I mean, I can't imagine anybody thinks that this is going to be selling well. Because even if you're a diehard Kyle fan, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a rabid Kyle fan who will buy literally anything Kyle's in, especially because he hasn't been headlining, not that he even looks like Kyle anymore in his uniform, but his hair and everything. But if you're a diehard Kyle fan, then maybe you'll buy this no matter what just to try to support Kyle. But other than that, okay.
Isn't that technically true then? Because haven't they proved that? Because well, that's assuming my assumption about why the numbers were the way they were was that people would be curious to continue reading a Kyle focused book, and you thought it would drop lower. I thought there's enough interest in Kyle to maintain it for at least one more issue, so people will try it out, this new run, and then make their decision from there. So doesn't that kind of prove? What's another reason it would have?
Well, the other reason is there was enough groundwork laid out in 600, because remember, part of 600 was while accurate, was also laying it on pretty thick why Kyle was important.
Mm-hmm.
And why you should care about Kyle because of who Kyle was and what Kyle did and everything else. So if you were unfamiliar with Kyle to begin with,
whether that's new curiosity about Kyle or Kyle fans wanting to see more Kyle, it's still Kyle driving the interest in the book, at least for a little bit.
Probably you could make also a case that it's some of the stuff with the Hal Jordan Krona stuff too. But I'm not gonna deny that there's some interest, to counter the comic book revolution ongoing archetype and complaints and analysis all the time. No, they didn't do it last month because, of course, they misread the sales numbers and they said the Green Lantern rose when it didn't. That Kyle's the problem. Kyle is hurting this book. Either way, the point is we know Hal overall, generally speaking, is more popular from a comic book selling perspective than Kyle, and he was not able to keep this book in the top 100 for a while. So it's very unlikely that Kyle. And it would be. Let's be honest. I think we both would be stunned if the sales for this book are inside the top 100, considering it did drop almost 20 spots from issue 33 to 34. But
yeah, no, it's for sure going.
I don't want to
say 125 or lower.
That's why we could take a sub. We could take a sub bet if you want. I'll even be nice if you want to take. If you want to take, let's say, 113 or under. I'll take the over just for the hell of it. I'm not as confident that it's going to be back to 120 or something next month. It could be, but if you want,
I think the number for this issue is definitely 125 or higher.
When you mean higher, you mean worse? You mean lower?
Yeah, like
really?
Worse. Like yeah.
All right, if you want to do that, then we'll switch just for the sake of curiosity. I will say this book will be then under 125.
The issue 35 specifically sales numbers.
Yeah, for the hell of it. I will say this book was going to drop, but it won't plummet all the way down to the 125 or worse. Now, I could.
Fairly sure. This is awful.
No, it is. It's an atrocious Green Lantern issue. There's really nothing to hang your hat on here. And let's be honest, the last page solicit here sounds like complete garbage too. Not that you can even understand most of it. Who the F is going to care about anything to do with Odyssey and her ongoing movie career? We know this is not going to go on. Well, we don't know because it's Jeremy, but with all due respect. We assume this is not going to go on for very long. We assume this is going to be a few issue thing before it ends. But who cares about this stuff? So the Guardians are out there. We haven't touched the Guardians. I mean, we saw them relatively recently, so you can give that a pass. Kyle gets sent off to some stupid crap in Aquaman, which again, we're probably not even going to get any kind of, maybe we'll get a cursory reference to the next time Hal shows up in this book. But this is just garbage. We weren't reviewing this on an active basis, and usually I've been doing the Green Lantern reviews, in particular the issue reviews, I would definitely skip the next issue and just find a full spoiler review of what happens in it, and say just even to send a message. But just because this stuff is not compelling whatsoever, I don't know who this book is for at the moment.
Yeah. I will say this. I'm not trying to. I think it's a terrible Green Lantern book issue. I think it's an okay comic book. I mentioned this to you when we first were reading it. I think if you care about any of this, it's okay written. And I don't like the art, except for I will disagree with you about the Hal parts because that's Montos, which I think is at the very least significantly better than the rest of it. And I do like the way Montos draws certain things. There are times, and we even pointed this out during War Journal, there are times when he has issues with some faces and stuff, whether that's at a distance or due to lack of detail or whatever, because John looked a little wonky from time to time under Montos's style. So, you know, totally allow for the possibility of there, and the great ape that Jan transforms into looks strange. So like there's all of that to be had, but I still think the Montos art is great. I think for the very little bit of how we see, there's good Hal characterization, and for the very little bit of Kyle we see, I don't see anything that Kyle is saying and or doing that seems out of character. So all the stuff we've been talking about remains the same in terms of like we know that Jeremy can write some good dialogue and plot some things. It's the pacing. It's what he chooses to focus on. That's the problem, not necessarily his ability to write or his ability to characterize people. And you can make the argument about the writing thing because plotting things, pacing things is part of said writing. So maybe I should say scripting. So scripting and personalization, personality and stuff, and understanding a character is fine. But none of that matters if I don't care or latch on to anything that's happening within the pages of the issue, even if it's well written or well characterized.
I agree. The other, I still don't think the art with Hal is particularly good. Maybe it's because Hal's drawn at from a distance almost every single time we see him in these few couple of pages too, few pages that he's in. He never really
Like that full page spread of the door opening and the knights standing there. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I said that. He can
Yeah.
know that looks good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you look at him, like I said, you very rarely see Hal's face in this entire few pages that he's in it, and it's almost always from a distance.
Yeah.
So I think I know what you're saying. I think it can be hit or miss. I don't think the artwork other than drawing the knights were and I like the great ape, even though you're right, it doesn't look like a standard great ape, but I'm okay with that. I one thing I did think was cool because I wonder if this is a deliberate reference point, that the fact that the head knight there shoots his fist off to punch like Hal in the face.
Mhm.
I wonder if that's a Baron Karza reference, like from the Micronauts, because this guy kind of looks a little very borderline. He kind of looks like Baron Karza to a certain extent, but just the fact that was one of Baron Karza's things, not just in the comics, because they got that from the toy, because he had projecting hands, which is why a lot of people like me who still have my Baron Karza figure don't have any hands left, because all the hands are lost somewhere during the course of my life. But I did notice that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this. I think we've said this before, that it's hard to know where this book is going, and this seems like a complete 180 from certainly the Starbreaker stuff and the emotional spectrum stuff. And it's like I don't know. I just don't get it. And there certainly doesn't seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel yet, not even based on solicits for this Odyssey crap, which means this could be going on another 5 issues. And I don't know. It's kind of maddening at this point, but it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really got anything else to say about it. Other than I think the Knights may be working for the same company that Omega Bam Man or not necessarily Omega Bam Man, but like that wrestling federation is a part of. Because it's the Omni Omega Entertainment Corps. They have multiple lines of business. I think I'm not going to go back and check, but that might have something to do with the wrestling entertainment broadcast stuff that we were talking about a while back.
And let's be honest, would that surprise us either?
No.
I know. It does seem like it does seem like Jeremy's going a little bit too far down the road, in my opinion, anyway, of self-servingness, just self-servingville with a lot of these things, these characters, these stories. Hey, I'm gonna carry over this story into another book that I'm writing. That to try to, which on one level you get because you want to draw people into reading, to reading a book that they might not read otherwise. So conceptually, it's not like it's new, but I also don't know if it's compelling enough to draw you in, because it's really, in all likelihood, is going to have absolutely nothing to do with the main story that we're supposed to be following with Hal, which is that he's seeking out Krona, and he's going somewhere. He's being he's on a mission, and this is like a side mission that I don't know. I want to like this book more than I do, and it's getting harder and harder not to lose faith in this book.
Yeah, 100%. All right, what's next?
All right, so let's roll through a few things. Picking up on last week, there was nothing. I have seen nothing because when we recorded last week, as I mentioned, I saw 2 movies last week, including one right before we recorded. So I have seen nothing else to report. I will see at least He-Man by the time we talk the next episode. Maybe Scary Movie. Maybe.
Best of luck with Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, I trust it. That actually, with all due respect, I know my friend wanted to see it. The only reason that movie got picked was because I actually forgot that Scary Movie and He-Man were opening up on the same week, or else the ticket we would have now would be for Scary Movie, instead of realizing, oh, they're both coming out on the same day, and trying to see if we're going to do both tomorrow, which we may not, or there's always a chance we could do one on Friday, depending on my friend's schedule. But since he has yet to get a regular schedule at his new job, it's making much of our movie-going planning up in the air and complicated. But I said I was going to talk a little bit more about Mandalorian and Grogu's box office once we had the second week. So the second weekend, and the second weekend was a disaster. It dropped 70%. Now, in a what-if world in which the weird zeitgeist movement that was Backrooms didn't take place, would Mandalorian and Grogu have done better and held on to more of its business? Yeah, it's almost guaranteed it would have, but it's not like it was going to hold on to like another 10% of its business. It probably still would have hemorrhaged at least 65% probably. It's not exactly 100% the core audience for both movies. There's enough crossover where it would be illogical to say that there wasn't some crossover, some effect. But Backrooms was its own thing, especially since it wasn't driven by word of mouth. It was just driven by hype, which is interesting compared to Obsession, which is clearly driven by word of mouth, because Obsession actually went up last weekend too. So Obsession has had 2 weekends in a row, its second and third weekend in release, where it's actually gained, which is virtually unprecedented. That it went from its opening weekend, then it gained 40% during Memorial Day, I think just a 3-day, but then it gained 14% last weekend. So, and on $1 million budget too. So it's made like $105 million domestically, and on a $1 million budget. So needless to say, it's ridiculously profitable. And almost depending how Backrooms holds, it's almost guaranteed to be much more profitable than Backrooms, no matter how much more money Backrooms makes, since Backrooms costs like $10 million. But nonetheless, so Mandalorian Grogu, no matter how you spin this, is disappointing. And it was a $165 million budget or so, we're told. It's Disney. Disney has a pretty long track record of under-reporting their budgets, and we tend to find that out only if they made some of this over in England, because of the fact that because of taxes and bookkeeping, that England has to reveal everything at some point from a paperwork perspective, and so that's how we got confirmation that the rumors about, let's say, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, how the rumors of that budget was ridiculously overpriced, even compared to what Lucasfilm was telling us that it was. Well, those rumors turned out to be true. We usually find that out. So, but even if we assume that this movie actually cost $165 million, that means currently it's only made 1.5 times its production budget back. It would have to make at least 2.5 times its production budget back to be sniffing a profit, maybe more than that, especially if the budget was not being reported properly. it's not looking very likely this movie is gonna make a profit the way it's dropping. It's not projected to have a good hold this weekend either. So this movie is probably going to go out pretty meekly and may very well not make more money than Solo: A Star Wars story. So I think a lot of people were rooting for this movie to fail, which is kind of what I was alluding to last week. The reality is, I think that is a fair assessment that it has failed, and it's fine. Like I said, I can't go out there and champion it and say, oh yeah, you should go see it absolutely in the theater, because I think you're perfectly fine waiting for Disney Plus, either storyline and special effects wise. Yeah, if you saw it in IMAX, I'm sure it'd be fantastic, but more fantastic. But that's it for that. The Thrilljoy Hal Jordan figure, another follow up that we talked about last week. I did receive my 4 that I had ordered from Thrilljoy. I wish I'd ordered all 4 at once, but I never thought they were going to ship so quick. I somehow suspect my odds of getting a Chase figure would have been much greater if I'd gotten 4 shipped in one box. But as I showed Chad, and I'm going to post a video, I'm going to record a different video. I'm going to actually wait till because I do have a Chase figure. I do have the White Lantern figure coming. So when that arrives, then I'm going to show everybody, like I showed Chad and Jim, how great this packaging is on this figure. They did a really nice job, right, Chad?
Yeah, they did pretty good.
It's pretty. I mean, now I'm not sure if the ones that you would get from Big Bad or even Entertainment Earth would come exactly the same way, because they may take them out of their inner packaging and just throw them, like wrap them in a bag or something, or put them in their shipping containers. But when you get them from Thrilljoy anyway, each one of these Pix Green Lantern Emerald Warrior figures came in an individual cardboard box, which tells you exactly what it is on the outside. So it's like those Funko boxes you get for individual Funkos, but you know exactly what's in this box. So you open that up, it's shrink wrapped, you remove the shrink wrap, there's a little plastic case on the top and the bottom that keeps the slip case intact. You take that off, you slide out the slip case, then you get the inner box, and when you open the inner box, which is not taped, the inner box is not taped, you open it up, and right on the top you would see your little card, your little Pix card, where when you slide that out, it tells you exactly what number figure out of the 8,888 that you got. So if you haven't gotten one yet, obviously you can get them pretty cheap at this point. You might be able to get some on eBay just as cheap as getting them off of either Entertainment Earth is pre-sold out. But Big Bad, I think, is still available for pre-order. Thrilljoy, last time I checked, was still available, where you can order them, and they ship really quick. Like I said, you could probably, if you ordered it on a Monday, you probably would get it. You might get it by like Thursday, but either way, you're going to get it by the end of the week. That I would recommend getting these. It's a really, really, really nice figure. They did a really good job with it, and needless to say, at the moment, I have 4 Hals. I have 4 green Hals, which is destined to be less, and Chad will be getting one, and Jim will be getting one. but I think they're very nicely done. One of the more impressive figures I've seen actually in a while. And just as a brief aside, I did cancel that Beast Kingdom Hal Jordan figure that almost everybody else has had in stock, and a lot of people have gotten theirs. But for some strange reason, Beast Kingdom is not filling out their own orders, and have been keeping this going on and on and on and on. And plus, I saw the figure, and as much as it looked nice, it wasn't worth that much money, as far as I'm concerned. It's not like it's this ginormous figure to justify the price. So I canceled my Beast Kingdom order, and they were nice about it. They apologized for like the delay in shipping and everything, but that money helped justify me getting my White Lantern Pix Emerald Warrior figure.
Yeah, the Thrilljoy. Also, it's bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it was small. I thought it was like, and I know it's not a Funko soda figure, but I thought it would be about the size of a soda figure for some reason.
Yeah, the reason why I wasn't surprised is I remembered when I was about to pre-order them that they said they were like about 7 or 7.5 inches. So I said, wow, okay, even for the price, considering Funkos are like $15 and they're much smaller. I was like, okay, the price alone, based on the size alone, makes the price pretty cool. But that's a cool line. That's a line I'm going to keep my eyes on more in case they come up with other figures I like. I mean, they have a Duck Dodgers figure, which I don't think is particularly which we may have mentioned at one point, that the it's not a great sculpted Duck Dodgers, or else I would do it. I mean, Porky, I think Porky as the Space Cadet is the chase figure. I don't think there's a Super Chase, which would be cool. That would have been really cool, I think, if the Super Chase or the Ultra Chase, I think, was like Marvin the Martian. Then that probably would have been worth rolling the dice on. But yeah, I'm impressed with this line. I think this is they do a very, very, very nice job of packaging, and again, they ship this stuff so quick. Kudos to them.
For sure. All right, what's next?
So, ever so briefly, only for the sake of fairness, actually, not because this is not going to be a whole. Obviously, if Chad wants to express some thoughts on it, we'll talk about it for a few minutes. But this is more out of a sake, like I said, of fair and balanced reporting, because I don't want to make it sound like, hey, someone else does something similar. No, not the same, but similar to the, since we just talked about the Melissa Barrera thing a few weeks ago, and to at least not acknowledge that another contender, though not the favorite, for the 2026 Rachel Zegler Silver Foot in the Mouth Award so far, Millie Alcock, Supergirl, has kind of like digging a much smaller hole, but has kind of dug a lot of holes in the last few months with some of the comments that she's made about, and most of which I think are innocuous, like the comment about, well, I never talked to any of the other actresses that have ever played Supergirl. I think that's pretty innocent, because it's not like it's not like there's a real quote unquote famous Supergirl. I mean, you can make a case Helen Slater is best known for playing Supergirl, other than maybe the legend of Billie Jean, but it's not like she was not the Christopher Reeve equivalent just playing Supergirl. And Melissa Benoist, right? The reality is Supergirl's never been like a big role or been overly popular. Even Sasha Calle, who along with Michael Keaton, most people regard as the best parts of that Flash movie. I don't think that was a big comment, but that was one statement she made, and then she made the statement about never having seen any female-led superhero movie.
Yeah,
that's
fine. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think for the most part it is. It's kind of strange a little. I think it's a little strange, at least after. I mean, maybe not. Even if you hadn't seen it before you got the role, you think you might have wanted to. But again, for the most part, I think that one's fine. The one when she's saying that she was like pissing off Christian dads, and she's okay with that, or I guess I'm doing something right if I'm doing that. That's the stupidest thing that she said up to this point. Because again, if you keep pissing on, you keep pissing on a core part of your audience repeatedly. It's a stupid thing to do. It's like it's that entitled living in a bubble thing where you don't realize, oh, we don't really need that, except the majority of people that come see superhero movies are men, and a large portion of them are white, and a decent part of them will be either dads or Christian dads. So the point is, should never piss off a key part of your demographic that supports your kind of movies needlessly. Now, is this in Melissa Barrera territory based on either the original event or like that horrible interview that she gave? No. But it doesn't help. It doesn't help a movie that's not tracking at the moment is not tracking particularly high to begin with. So you don't want to forget not adding fuel to the fire. You don't want to be getting more fire extinguishers aimed at the fire and focusing in on the fire before your movie begins, and give people less of a reason to come out and support your movie. That's it. It's not nearly as big a deal, but I didn't want to make it sound like I wasn't aware this was going on too, and following in the footsteps of Brie Larson and other people who have kind of attacked their core audience. Which at least I guess giving credit where credit's due, Melissa Barrera never really attacked anything to do with her audience directly. So I think that's a plus. But that's all I really wanted to say about that.
I mean, specific to her not seeing female-led superhero movies, I think it's fine because she got cast for the role. If she had seen them and let it influence how she played the role, she may not have gotten the role. It doesn't matter if she has seen or hasn't seen them. She is their choice for the role, so it doesn't really matter whether or not she's seen these projects or not, because she played the character how the producers, the writers, everybody expect the character to be on the screen based on the story they're telling. So like it has no bearing on the end product, I think, because they made a choice to choose her. So it doesn't matter. As for her comments on, like, I agree it's not necessarily good to kick a hornet's nest, but to be fair, I copied and pasted that stuff from Variety into a document. Literally 2 paragraphs earlier, She says, simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We've become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. And then she says, I didn't even say men, I said people. And they got so angry. I was like, you're proving my point. You're proving my point. And then 2 paragraphs later, she says the thing about data for Christians. So like she kind of shoots her own point in the foot, but she tries to make an effort to be like, I'm not just singling out guys. No. And then she does so, but she's also 26 or something like that, right? So.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't think this is the equivalent. But again, this is just generally speaking, this stuff happens too often. I don't understand why people are not prepped. I mean, and correction, I'm sure they're prepped, and because my full statement was going to be whether or not prepped better. But I just think people either have impulse control issues or they just can't. I don't know. And I do think part of it is being entitled, and part of it is living in a vacuum where you think, well, hey, the industry I live in, I can say these things because people in my industry will think the way I do, even though if that's kind of like living in a fantasy world compared to what a large portion of the rest of society actually thinks on the subject. But in the big picture, is it a huge problem? No. But again, it's not anything this movie needs when it does not appear at the moment like this movie has a lot of groundswell support that's going to make this movie a huge box office hit. So doing anything, putting up any more speed bumps along the way, giving people any more reason to say, well, I don't think I'm going to run to go see this in the theater. It's like, you know what? I was debating about it. But now that they insulted, hey, if I'm a Christian dad or a white Christian dad, it's like, well, you know what? I'll wait till it comes on HBO Max in like 4 months and I'll just watch it then. It's just not smart, and people do it way too often, and that's the difference again between people. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, and people have a lot of issues with being able to differentiate that about oftentimes you're better off just shutting the F up and keeping your opinions to yourself when it comes to stuff, especially when there's almost no way it can do anything but hurt you. It's not going to help. But that's it. So Corwin's voicemail?
Go for it. This is all you, man.
All right. So we have Corwin. Corwin actually left a voicemail, as kind of what was alluded to. He left a voicemail right after the episode that I talked about, the end of the Maul Shadow Lord series. So yes, he mentioned one specific point, which is a spoiler. I mean, the character he's talking about, I kind of made it clear was in the final 2 episodes, but he does mention one specific action about that character, or one characteristic about that character. But we're gonna play it now, and then I'm sure Chad won't have much to say about it, and I'll just
nothing.
Chad will have nothing to say about it, and I'll have like a word or two to say about it. But let's play Corwin's now, and we'll come right back.
Fellas, Corwin, Maul, Shadow Lord, those last 2 episodes, oof, mwah, chef's kiss. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Vader showing up and did not say one single word. He came there to stand up on business, and it's exactly what he did. The Boogeyman. Loved it. That's it.
So you're really sure you don't want to say anything about it, Chad?
I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
I know you haven't, but yes. So that was, in a way, probably something that was a choice that worked out really, really well, that most people probably would not have guessed. And maybe it's not on paper what most people would have wanted. They would have wanted to have a conversation, Maul and Vader to have some kind of exchange back and forth. And it doesn't mean it can't happen down the road. It's not like this necessarily has to be the only time these characters meet during the course of however many seasons this show goes. Because you have to assume now that, especially Vader, Vader obviously knew that Maul was alive to begin with from the Inquisitors, but the fact that he showed up on his own to try to to finish the job, and the fact that Maul got away means he's going to be, public enemy literally number 1, since the Emperor wants Maul dead now. Can't say always wanted Maul dead, because he did have a purpose for Maul being alive for a period of time, and I mean after he became what he became now, post Phantom Menace. But the fact that, yes, Darth Vader does not utter a single word during the entire appearance, the end of episode 9 and the entire conflict in episode 10 is quite brilliant, actually. It's just like a force of nature, and like other people have pointed out, like a horror movie. It's kind of like Jason. He's just kind of like in some parts of the episode, he's just like stalking Maul and the two Jedi with him, that including just like coming right through the wall at one point. It's like, and Maul like senses it at the last second. He turns his head, and like Vader's hand comes like right through the wall, no pun intended, right through the wall at Maul. So yeah, it was a very, very, very powerful season finale and a great season. So I think almost everybody is looking forward to season 2 of that show. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, Corbin.
All right. Anything else?
I don't have anything else. Did you want to mention those Mattel figures going on?
They're supposed to be in stores starting Sunday, right? As we record this, it's June 3rd, so some stores already have them, I think, is what I heard.
Right, but that's not every single. Are all those figures supposed to be out so soon? I thought like the Jon Stewart figure was still going to be out later.
The stuff we care about, I think, is supposed to be out,
including Jon Stewart.
I think so. I'm not entirely sure. I don't have the link in front of me. Do you?
No, but I will try. I will try to pull it up. But yeah. Just and probably could have mentioned that during the other section. The idea that the baseline, the core line of the Mattel figures, the DC figures that they're going to be getting. Yeah, it looks like it's let's see, the pre-orders on Big Bad. No, that's September. Jon Stewart's supposed to be September. So the first wave that we saw, like with Batman and Superman and the Joker and things like that, those are available now. Some have already shown up in stores. If you order them on some of these sites where they haven't sold out yet, because they got some of the, it may not technically be a pre-order, may not be a pre-order for some of these if they have them in stock. But the Jon Stewart figure, which is one of the ones, yeah, a lot of the other ones are hot off the truck on Entertainment Earth. So Batman, Heat Vision, Superman, Robin with the motorcycle, the Flash, the mech suit, Dark Knight Returns. A lot of these things are hot off the truck and available, but some of the other ones are going to be available for pre-order, including Jon Stewart, which is cool. And it looks like that Hal Jordan 3-pack is not available yet either. Based on what I saw. But yes, that's one thing to keep in mind, that the first wave of the kid, more geared to kid line, which still have some awesome sculpts in them too. I think people are being a little hard on some of these sculpts, but the line that's more kid friendly, that those figures are rolling out. So that's something to keep in mind if you're interested. And yes, Jon Stewart is one of the figures that's available for pre-order. Looks like September is the estimated release date on that.
Last thing I'll say is it's still June, guys. So that is GL June still going on. As we record this, we're still the only ones with an episode up. But by the time you hear this, if Ralph stands by his schedule, which I think he confirmed, but it could change. I think he's releasing his Lanterns Live stuff he's doing his live stream on the 8th. So by the time you hear this, it should already be out. If not, it'll be out by the 10th for sure, which is Wednesday, the 10th. Lanterns Live is available over on YouTube, and it's a live stream. But once the live stream is done, the live stream is recorded and still available to watch afterwards on the YouTube channel, just like any video. So if you miss it, totally fine. But Lanterns Live over on YouTube, and then by the time you hear this, between this episode and next episode, Mosaic Comics, Dan, should be coming out with his stuff sometime between the 11th and the 15th. So I think he's aiming for that Monday the 15th. I'm not sure whatever Dan's release schedule is like. So between now and the time we record next, we are going to have 2 other pieces of GL June out, both with Lanterns Live and Mosaic Comics, both available over on YouTube. So if you have yet to check out the other pieces of GL June, go check them out.
That's right. It's a good story. Follow it through, and then you can always let us know what you think of the entire collective story once we get done with part 6.
Yep. And if you're part of our listener group, you're a normal listener, and you're going to be listening to the other parts of GL June, just spread the love to the other shows. Leave a comment, let them know you're listening, shoot them an email, whatever. Just, hype them up, guys. Let them know you're out there.
Absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
We didn't do the goodbye. Didn't. It's all right. Hold on to that goodbye, Chad. but wait, there's more.
People want to reach out to us. Yes. What do they do?
LanternCast.com. The web email is lanterncast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook. Use hashtag GeoCast to track us down. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you listen to us on. Please leave us a positive review. Last but not least, if you'd like to leave us a text or a voicemail, 708-LANTERN, and let us know what you think.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.